Venus looks beautiful in the sky. It is bright, smooth, and often called Earth's twin because it is almost the same size as our planet. But that glowing world hides one of the most terrifying environments in the entire solar system.
If you landed on Venus, you would not find oceans, blue skies, or anything close to a second Earth. You would find a planet where the atmosphere crushes like the deep ocean, where the heat is hot enough to melt lead, and where the air itself would kill you in seconds.
Tonight, we are going to imagine the full journey. What would you see as you approached Venus? What would happen during the descent? What would the surface look like? Could a human survive there with advanced technology? And why did Venus, a planet so similar to Earth, become such a nightmare?
Because Venus is not just another planet. It is a warning. From far away, Venus seems calm. Its thick clouds reflect sunlight so well that it becomes one of the brightest objects in the sky. For centuries, people imagined that those clouds might hide jungles, swamps, or even alien life. Since Venus and Earth are so similar in size, many once believed Venus might be a tropical world. The truth was far worse. Those clouds are made of sulfuric acid, and beneath them lies the hottest surface of any planet in the solar system. Even Mercury, which is closer to the Sun, is cooler at its surface than Venus.
That is because Mercury has almost no atmosphere, while Venus has an atmosphere so thick it traps heat with terrifying efficiency. Venus is wrapped in carbon dioxide. More than 96% of its atmosphere is CO2. This creates an extreme greenhouse effect, trapping heat until the surface reaches about 465 degrees Celsius, or 869 degrees Fahrenheit. That is hot enough to melt lead, and the heat is only part of the problem. The pressure at the surface of Venus is about 92 times stronger than the pressure at sea level on Earth. That is like standing nearly a kilometer underwater, except instead of water pressing on you, it is superheated toxic gas. So right away, Venus gives you three fatal conditions at once: unbearable heat, crushing pressure, and air you cannot breathe. Now imagine your spacecraft approaching the planet. From orbit, Venus does not reveal much. You cannot simply look down and see the ground the way you can on Mars or the Moon. The entire planet is covered by thick global clouds. It looks smooth, pale, and mysterious. But once your descent begins, that mystery becomes danger. As your spacecraft enters the atmosphere, friction builds fast. The heat shield begins to glow. Plasma forms around the vehicle. Outside, everything becomes fire and light as the atmosphere slams against the craft at enormous speed. Venus has such a thick atmosphere that entry is a brutal test of engineering. Then you reach the cloud layers. This is where the planet becomes truly alien. The sunlight grows dim and strange. You pass through vast layers of sulfuric acid clouds. The atmosphere is turbulent, chemically hostile, and unlike anything on Earth. High above the surface, Venus has winds that race around the planet at incredible speeds. Even though the planet itself rotates very slowly, the upper atmosphere moves with shocking force. As you descend deeper, the pressure rises constantly. The air becomes denser and denser until it starts feeling less like air and more like a heavy fluid. At the same time, the temperature keeps climbing. Lower on Venus does not mean cooler or calmer. It means hotter, thicker, and deadlier. Eventually, the surface begins to appear through the orange haze, and this may be the strangest part of Venus. The ground itself can look almost normal. Images sent back by old Soviet landers show rocky plains, scattered stones, and barren terrain that almost resembles a desert on Earth. But that appearance is a trap, because everything about the environment is hostile beyond imagination. The sky would not be blue. It would glow in shades of yellow, orange, and brown. Sunlight would struggle through the thick atmosphere, creating a dim, eerie world. The horizon would look hazy and close. There would be no stars overhead, no clear sunlight, and no relief. Then comes touchdown. If a human somehow landed on Venus in a normal spacesuit, that would be the end almost immediately.
A regular spacesuit is designed for vacuum, radiation, and temperature control in space. It is not designed to survive 92 times Earth's pressure and nearly 900-degree heat. The suit would fail quickly. Cooling systems would be overwhelmed. Structural parts would give out. The person inside would suffocate, overheat, and be crushed by pressure in a very short time. So the simple answer is clear. Without extremely advanced protection, a human landing on Venus would die almost instantly.
But let's go further. What if you had a special Venus suit? Even then, it would not really be a suit in the normal sense. It would need to be more like a walking submarine combined with a furnace-proof survival capsule. It would require massive insulation, active cooling, pressure resistance, chemical protection, and airtight systems that could keep working in one of the harshest environments imaginable. Every joint, every seal, every cable, every visor would be a possible failure point.
Venus would exploit even the smallest weakness. So yes, with far future technology, survival might be possible for a limited time, but it would be incredibly difficult, heavy, and dangerous. That is why Venus is so feared by engineers.
Landing there is not the only challenge. Staying alive there is the real problem. This is why the Soviet Venera missions remain legendary in space history. These spacecraft were specially built to survive Venus. They were armored, insulated, and engineered to endure conditions that would destroy most machines. Some of them successfully landed and sent back data and images from the surface. But even these hardened probes did not last long. Most survived only for minutes or a little over an hour before the planet destroyed them. Think about that. Machines designed specifically for Venus still lost the fight very quickly. The heat cooked electronics, the pressure pushed every component to its limit. Internal cooling ran out. Eventually, Venus won. That tells you just how extreme this world really is. Now imagine sitting inside a fictional crewed lander on the surface of Venus. Inside, cooling systems are working non-stop. Every wall is protecting you from instant death. Outside the window is a dim, orange world of rock and haze. The land might look still, but the atmosphere is thick and heavy. Even a modest breeze could carry force because the air is so dense. And above you is a sky you cannot see through. No stars, no blue, no blackness of space. Just layer upon layer of toxic atmosphere. If the hatch opened, even for a moment, the environment would be catastrophic. You would not dramatically burst into flames like in a movie, but the result would be just as final. You would be hit by extreme heat, unbreathable gas, and crushing pressure all at once. Venus does not kill in one simple way. It attacks every weakness at the same time. So why is Venus like this? That is one of the greatest mysteries and lessons in planetary science. Venus and Earth are often called twins because they are so similar in size and mass. They formed in the same inner solar system. They probably began with some similar ingredients. So why did Earth become a living world while Venus became a furnace?
The leading answer is a runaway greenhouse effect. Scientists believe Venus may once have had far more water than it does now, perhaps even oceans long ago. But because Venus is closer to the Sun, it received more solar energy. More heat caused more evaporation. More water vapor trapped more heat. That caused even more evaporation. Over time, the process spiraled out of control. As the planet heated up, water in the upper atmosphere was broken apart by sunlight. Hydrogen escaped into space. The water was lost. Without oceans and without Earth-like climate regulation, carbon dioxide built up in the atmosphere. The greenhouse effect became unstoppable. Venus was transformed. Whatever chance it may once have had to resemble Earth was erased by climate feedback on a planetary scale.
That is one reason Venus matters so much. It is not just a dangerous world, it is a lesson in how atmosphere can shape destiny. Mars shows us what happens when a planet grows cold and loses much of its air. Venus shows us what happens when a planet traps too much heat and turns into an inferno. In many ways, Earth lives between those two extremes. But here is where the story takes a surprising turn.
There may actually be one place on Venus where humans could someday survive, more easily. Not on the surface, in the upper atmosphere. At altitudes around 50 to 60 kilometers above the surface, Venus becomes much less hostile.
The temperature and pressure there can be far closer to Earth-like conditions. That has led some scientists and engineers to imagine floating habitats in the Venusian sky. It sounds unbelievable, but it makes sense. Instead of trying to build cities on the surface, humanity could one day build balloon-like stations or floating laboratories high in the atmosphere, above the crushing heat below. Those habitats would still have to resist sulfuric acid in the clouds, but compared to the surface, the upper atmosphere is far more manageable. So, Venus may not be a planet we walk on. It may be a planet we float above. That idea is one of the most fascinating in all of space exploration. A world where the surface is almost impossible, but the sky may offer a narrow zone of survival. Still, if we return to the original question, the final answer does not change. What happens if you land on Venus? You descend through thick acid clouds into an atmosphere so dense it feels like an invisible ocean. The temperature rises higher and higher. The pressure builds until it becomes overwhelming. The surface appears beneath a dim orange sky, rocky and barren, almost normal at first glance. But the moment you arrive, you are standing in one of the most lethal environments in the solar system. The air cannot be breathed. The heat can melt lead. The pressure can crush unprotected systems. And unless you are protected by some of the most advanced technology humanity could ever build, Venus kills you in moments. That is the terrifying truth about Earth's evil twin. It shines beautifully in our sky, but beauty means nothing out there. Beneath those bright clouds lies a world of fire, pressure, poison, and silence. A planet that may once have been more like Earth, but crossed a line and became something else entirely. Venus is not just a destination. It is a warning written across an entire planet. So, the next time you see Venus glowing in the evening sky, remember what is really there. Not a peaceful sister world, not a second Earth, but a crushing, burning, toxic inferno where even our toughest machines can survive only briefly. A place where landing is possible, but surviving is something else entirely. And that is what happens if you land on Venus.